Thank you, Caroline, and good morning, or is it good afternoon, perhaps? It's a great day to be a Spartan. I was told I had 2 minutes to tell you about Hilmar Bjornsson. That is quite a difficult task, as I could go on and on about this special person and special player. UNCG has always been recognized as a soccer powerhouse. In fact, we finished this season ranked number 5 in the country. Thank you, Coach Rich. We are a storied program with 5 national championships, and we are the only school in NCAA history to be ranked number 1 nationally in Division III, Division II, and Division I. Thank you, Nelson Bob, for reminding me of that last night. So many great players from all over the world have donned the Spartan jersey and walked this great campus. Asked to pick one player as the greatest ever at UNCG would be a really difficult task, as we've had so many. But Reykjavik, Iceland's Hilmar Bjornsson would without question be on the short list. In fact, asked about Hilmar, legendary UNCG head coach Michael Parker said, "In 37 years as a college coach, Hilmar was one of the best ever to play for me. More importantly, he was integral in paving the way for the future success of the program. His influence in Iceland established a pathway for future Icelandic players to come to the university, a hugely important connection. Without this, I don't think the program would have had quite the success it did. I shall always be thankful for Hilmar, not only a great player, but a fantastic individual too. A very worthy induction. Thank you, Coach Parker." Sure, Hilmar had all the well-deserved accolades. Multiple all-region teams, including first team in 1990, first team all-conference and all-tournament, appeared in 3 NCAA tournaments, and played 12 years of professional soccer. But perhaps most impressive are his records that still stand today. Ranked number 10 in total points scored, and number 1 in UNCG men's soccer history for total assists. Well done, Hilmar. 30 years later, you're still number 1. His skill was off the charts, but what separated Hilmar was his indomitable competitive spirit. All he cared about was winning, and he was a winner. Of course, he also cared about his team, his teammates, his school, and his community. He just loved the game and loved to compete. He loved the moment in every game when you have to make a play to win. The game-winning goal, the game-winning assist, or his uncanny ability to draw fouls at critical moments in the game. When it was Hilmar's moment, he always delivered. He prepared himself and dedicated himself to excellence. In addition to his assists, goals, and winning mindset, he brought a professionalism and maturity to our team. They call it the Icelandic mentality. Train your best, train as hard as you can, be mentally strong, react to adversity, and behave off the pitch. That was Hilmar. Always the professional, always the Spartan. Simply put, one of the best to ever play at UNCG. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to present my good friend and teammate, Hilmar Bjornsson, into the UNCG Athletics Hall of Fame.
Thanks, George, for this very kind introduction. I have so many people to thank, obviously, and I'm going to start with Coach Parker, who took me into this program. And I'll never forget the first meeting I had with him really was he invited the whole team to his house for a barbecue after the famous 2-mile run. And he had never seen me play. That was really unheard of those times. And as I was leaving the house, he said to me, because he gave me a little scholarship, he said, "You better be good." And I said, I hope I will. But he taught me a lot, which I really brought into my sort of work ethic. It's the famous mental toughness. You know, in those days we trained 4 times a day. Now it's obviously not allowed. But he really taught us all to play as a team. He taught us to be mental tough, and it really helped me a lot in the future in my soccer career. I think that also I want to thank Nelson Bob, which was really the athletic director at that time, and the whole athletic department. Everyone that was involved, really tremendous job you did, and we all respected you greatly. And I can tell you now, we were all afraid of you all the time. Not now, thank God. But and then academically, I was very fortunate to study media productions at this school, and it taught me really well. I was really lucky with all the teachers that I got, and directly after I graduated, I started working in television, and I've been working there ever since. And it really was, I really have to thank all the teachers that were with me there. And I remember one thing about Coach Parker. You know, during the season, he sent out reports to all the teachers to see how we're doing in school. And one day he comes into the locker room, and he had this thick stack of papers with reports from all the teachers, and he threw it on the ground, and he kicked it into us, and he said, you know, "You're all just doing terrible. You're flunking classes, you're not going to classes, you're not taking tests, and if it continues like this is in October, if it continues like this, we won't have a team next fall." And then he points the finger at me and said, and you. I was just like, I was so afraid. This is the only guy who's doing okay, and he doesn't even speak English. And then obviously I want to take my teammates. I mean, that's obviously a given, because without them I would never be here. I was so fortunate to play with so many good players and so many good persons. But life is not all about football, and I was really fortunate to meet Scott Bridson and my dear friend George Hoyle, local guys, North Carolina boys, who really taught me all the good and bad things about this area. And I'll never forget, I think it was the first day of preseason, we're sitting at lunch, and they thought Iceland was like a planet. They thought like it was like a Mars, Jupiter, and Iceland, and they didn't know anything. And I was explaining them how you take, because in Iceland it's like, my children are Hilmar's daughter or Hilmar's son. That's how it works. So, and they just couldn't understand it. They had like 120 questions about, so if you get married, you take her or her, I mean, they just couldn't understand it. And up to that point, we became really good friends, and I really want to thank you for taking me in and showing me around, and it means so much to me. And that's one of the reasons I love this area, is because of you guys, and I really appreciate that. I'm not sure if I'm forgetting somebody, but I think that everything I mentioned here, it is friendship, it's football, it's mental toughness, it's academics. It all has followed me throughout my life after I graduated. So you touched me, this school has touched me in so many ways, and I'm really honored and grateful that I choose to come here, and I will never forget it, and I cherish it for the rest of my life, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, congratulations, Hilmar.
UNC wrestling fans, supporters, and former wrestlers, I'd like to thank Nelson Bach and Kathy Roberts for all they've done during their time at UNCG for the wrestling program. My name's Ronnie Sigmund. I'm a former wrestling coach and current NCAA referee. I'm going to tell you about one of the 2023 Hall of Fame inductees this afternoon. This inductee was a very good high school wrestler. He went on to become a great collegiate wrestler for the Spartans. He was a North Carolina high school state champion his junior and senior year. In the spring of 2002, he won the prestigious Ohio Tournament of the Champions in Columbus, Ohio, earning high school All-American honors. He was also named as the National High School Coaches Association Academic All-American. For these things led UNCG wrestling coach Tom Shiflett to offer him a wrestling scholarship. So in the fall of 2003, this young man became a Spartan. This inductee was selected as SoCon Freshman of the Year. He went on to become a 4-time All-Conference selection and 4-time SoConference tournament champion. This also qualified him for the NCAA National Tournament 4 times. Other major college accolades were winning the prestigious Southern Scuffle and becoming a University National Freestyle runner-up, earning him All-American honors. After graduating with a 3.3 GPA, he gravitated to become a college wrestling coach. He was hired by then coach Jason Lukidis' assistant. This was a position he held for 3 years. Then he was hired as Appalachian State assistant coach there. During his time as a coach, he trained and competed internationally. He placed 3rd in the Pan American Games in Guatemala City, Guatemala. He placed 3rd in U.S. Nationals and was a member of the United States World Cup team, where he competed in Tehran, Iran in 2014. Last summer, this inductee received one more accolade when he was selected to the SoCon's 100th anniversary wrestling team. Now it's my great pleasure to present Daren Burns in the UNCG Athletics Hall of Fame.
Wow. Thanks everyone for being here. I'm going to try to get through this. I will read the whole thing. So when I reflect back and overwhelmed by the amount of people that have helped and supported me throughout the years, many of which are still supporting me today and here this afternoon. So thank you. I often think back to the 9 to 10 years that we were in Greensboro, and what an experience. UNCG molded me. But this honor and recognition comes with a big team effort by a lot of folks. Starting with my parents, who never missed a wrestling match or a football game and always made sure that we had what we needed to succeed in sports and school. Thank you. Next to my brother and sister, we're all very close in age. You know, Eric was my best friend and is my best friend, also my biggest rival throughout early school years. He set the bar of where I wanted to be, and I wanted to always be as good as my brother. So for that, thanks Eric for being there. To the man that just introduced me today, but also introduced me to the sport of wrestling, my uncle, Ronnie Sigmund. He knew how to make us tough. He knew what hard work was, but he also taught us to be great teammates and respect the sport. Thank you, Coach. UNCG was my only recruiting visit, and I signed early my senior year. When I got to the campus for the visit, my hosts were Keith Ritter and Alex Pierce. Both these guys are here supporting me today. They didn't try to wow me with everything Greensboro had to offer. Instead, Pierce, who is now an executive chef, cooked me a big steak and we talked wrestling. They made me feel at home, and the next day I verbally committed to wrestle at the G. Thanks, guys. To the teammates my freshman year, when the program was going through changes under Coach Tom Shiflett, Thanks for showing us the ropes and keeping all 14 of us freshmen out of trouble. To Jason Lakitas, man, I don't know what to say about Coach Lakitas. He not only spent countless hours with me on the mat and reviewing film, but most of all, he believed in me. His passion and love of the sport is contagious, and with me coming from a small town with not much wrestling history, he lit a fire in me that changed my perspective and drive in many ways. To Nelson Bob, Coach, you always led from the front, and your glass house speech at the orientation and your constant presence at UNCG events. I still remember you're in your office, a sign in your office that said, if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember what you said. It's powerful. You know how to mold people into leaders, and your unwavering support of UNCG wrestling has always meant a lot to all of us. So thank you, Coach. To the teammates here that are here today and those that couldn't make it, what a ride. You know, we had a great time. We wrestled hard. We were competitive, but we had fun. And I appreciate all you more than you know. To Kim Record, never mind. Although it was hard, you know, for a lot of us, she taught me a lot about adversity, perseverance, how to treat people and how not to treat people. And for that, I say thank you. To Caitlin and my boys, I love you guys. You may not have been there for my competitive days at the G, but you're my whole world now. You get me, you motivate me, you believe in me, and you challenge me. And that is more than I could ever ask for. Lastly, to the selection committee, thank you for this great honor. After 2011, I wasn't sure if this day would come, but here we are. From all of us that were ever involved with UNCG wrestling, thank you for making me the third Spartan wrestler to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. That was a big team effort, and this is a win for all of us. Thanks. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Obviously, I'm not Jack Poland, and for those of you who know him, you can thank me later, because this won't be quite as long. We all know he cannot be brief. Seriously, Jack really wanted to be here today for Tracie. She's a really important person to him, and he just couldn't make it, so I'm going to do my best to speak on his behalf. Ironically, it was 10 years ago this week that I was doing the same thing for Jack. I know this because Facebook told me. Jack and I both wanted to thank the athletics staff committee for bringing the Hall of Fame back. It's really important for the university and for all the student athletes. It's truly a special moment for all of these people. Sorry. When Jack started this program, he asked a few mentors, one being Lynn Agee, what he should look for in a player and to help build the program. And they all said, find people who can build a foundation of your team, your commitment, of what you want to present for the university, for your program. And if you want someone special, look at their parents. Jack not only found the one who would be part of that foundation, but the cornerstone of his foundation. The one to help build the program, to build the program around. And that was Tracie. Tracie was tough on herself, and she was tough on her teammates. I know this firsthand. I didn't get to play with Tracie. I'm not that old. But, but for some reason, she was still here when I got here. And she would play with us, and she would beat us, and she wanted to make sure that she beat us. And she would tell us quite often, her beatdown. But she was still laying the foundation for the program after she left. Tracie was the first All-American for UNCG women's soccer. She was the cornerstone of this program. So with that, it's Jack's honor and my privilege to introduce Tracie Foels to the UNCG Athletics Hall of Fame.
Susie took a lot of beatdowns. And I'm not that much older than you are. So first, this is an incredible honor, and I just first thank God. Without the gifts He provided to me, certainly I wouldn't be here, let alone the other accomplishments that I've experienced throughout my life. Second, again, thanks Susie for standing in. If anybody knows Jack, I made the mistake of not asking Jack when he called to give me the news. I forgot to ask him if he'd actually talked to Susie to ask her to do this. So thank you. Next, the selection committee. Thank you so much. It's certainly, again, a privilege and an honor to be counted among the numbers of quality student athletes that have come through these programs. It's amazing to hear the accomplishments of even the folks just before me. Next, to my family, my parents. I mean, my dad was in college football. We moved 5 times before I got out of high school. So each time we moved, my parents put my sister and I first. And that gave us, looking for opportunities and getting your family settled in is always a challenge. But fortunately, thanks Mom and Dad. And then to Calvin, my better half, who couldn't be here today, but my partner in life and my best friend. And then, excuse me. Next, my coaches. There have been several over the years, many memories. My first coach in Oklahoma is a U10 and U8 player. He passed away a few years ago, but I couldn't have asked for a better person and a better coach for young girls. And he put us through some paces and scheduled, scrimmages and so forth against boys teams back then when that really wasn't done. Then I have a few of my coaches joining me today, my high school coaches, basketball and then soccer. Now, Kathy, if you want to know why no equipment ever fell out of my equipment bag, we all had this is how you close your equipment bag. You need to speak with my basketball coach at the end of this thing. Because if we didn't hang our shirt on the peg with our tank top over the shirt and our shorts on the other peg and our shoes unlaced, tongues pulled out on the top shelf with our socks laying there, we were not getting our uniforms washed. Yeah. But seriously, the discipline from my parents, from my coaches through the years, certainly drove me to want to be better and do better, and they allowed us to compete. So many young girls weren't necessarily encouraged to compete and be good all the time, and those are things that have stayed with me throughout. Next to Jack, I hate that he couldn't be here today, but certainly understand it. And if you know Jack, he'd still probably be here now at the podium, right? Yep. No doubt. But what I appreciated most about Jack, because I always got asked why UNCG, and I still got asked that. I've been asked that in the last 10 years even. When Jack came to speak to me and my family, he was just Jack. But he was straight up and said, this is the program I'm trying to build. this is where we want to go. This is what I can do for you and your family. And that went a long way. And frankly, a couple of my teammates that are here today, I played against as a youth player at various tournaments or in the Olympic Development Program. So I kind of had an idea of who he was getting to come here. And Jack's hard work with recruiting and so forth, I had no doubt he'd be beating down the bushes looking for the right girls to come here and build a program. And with that said, last but certainly not least, it is a team sport. And there were, Jill, there were about 35-ish girls or so at our first fitness test that morning at Grimsley. And the 4 days that Hilmar mentioned, we all spent a lot of time, at 6 a.m. running. But there were 9 original girls that made it through the program for 4 years. Jill Adams, Heather Duryea, Megan Guarnata, Lisa Lyston, who's no longer with us, Laura Musselman, Lisa O'Brien, Mandy Owen, and Rory Rushing. Those 9 girls helped lay the foundation for this program. And I'm so glad history is not completely lost. So thank you again for this great honor. It means the world to me and to us. Thank you.
Good afternoon. As Caroline said, my name is Aaron Fox. I am the son of Ryan Fox, the UNCG graduate and the 1981 Men's Golf Division III Individual National Champion. Ryan spent the early part of his college golf career at UNC Charlotte before transferring to UNCG in 1979. During his first and only year as a Spartan, he won the Fall Dixie Conference Tournament, the NCAA District 3 Tournament, and then finished second in the Dixie Conference Championship. He then finished off the season by winning UNCG's first and to date only individual national championship and was named All-American First Team. So in 1981, ESPN was only 2 years old, but they happened to broadcast the NCAA Division III National Championship. And thank you to my Uncle Wally, who recorded it back then on 8-track. So this was over 40 years ago, and thanks to my parents, who have now remastered that digitally, we have a few moments to share with you all today on the video screen.
The obvious winner there, he always puts last so that the gallery doesn't move, etc. and so forth. So there he is, Ryan Fox, just finishing out to win the title. Did it. Yep, routine par for Ryan from Greensboro, North Carolina. So he's come back here to his home state to play in the national finals and to win the individual title, being congratulated there by Jeff Thomas and then again by Steve Caldwell, as this was the final group of the day here to Pinehurst number 6. The team championship again has gone to Stanislaus, but there's the individual winner. Ryan Fox came here as the only representative of his team. There is a Greensboro College as the host team, and Jim Locke's team was the host team of this event. But this is University of North Carolina, Greensboro. It's the Ryan Fox, and he takes the title. And we'll be back to meet our winners and
So Ryan continues to compete at a high level today. And last year, he won the USGA North Carolina Senior Amateur Qualifier, and then competed in the USGA Senior Amateur in Marion, Massachusetts. He has also spent the last several decades with an impressive and undefeated record against my brother Alex and I on the golf course, with neither of us being able to say that we have beat our dad straight up at golf. Something I don't think is ever going to change. But that's all right. We have always walked off the golf course with two excuses. First, Dad, it is obvious we did not get the golf gene. And two, it's okay. We just got beat by a national champion. Today, we can add a third excuse. It's all right. We just got beat by a Hall of Famer. It is my pleasure to present Ryan Fox into the UNCG Athletics Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Before I get started, the buttonless Lacostas and the plaid pants will be on sale afterwards out front. I'm not sure who that person was up there. First and foremost, I want to thank the Hall of Fame Selection Committee, the university, and the athletic department for this incredibly distinguished honor. I would also like to congratulate the other inductees for their accomplishments. When Brian called me a few months back to share the news of my nomination and selection, I was proudly shocked. I quickly realized that I needed to conjure up memories and details from 41 years ago. Considering I don't always remember what day of the week it is, that has been somewhat challenging. I was able to dig up some old newspaper articles, and then the memories started to kind of flow. As you can see and hear from my son Aaron, having this DVD, and actually it was a beta tape, and probably half of you don't know what a beta tape was, but that my brother recorded. Having that certainly brought a bunch of memories, and it was awfully cool to be able to show my kids and my grandkids what ESPN looked like 41 years ago. It's been really fun to watch and to be able to share. And I'm not really happy with Terrence that he's shared that video with others. Unfortunately, that year in 1981, our team did not qualify for the national championship, but as Aaron said, I was fortunately invited. It was also very good fortune that year Greensboro College, by coincidence, was hosting the tournament at Pinehurst number 6. It's a course that I had played before. And ironically, I live about 15 miles from it today. I don't remember much about the first 3 rounds of the tournament. I started the final round 2 shots back. I remember that I played very well on the front 9. The back 9, I struggled. I was in the last group, as you saw. I don't even have to speak. You could just watch the video probably. But I was in the last group, but the actual leader, the gentleman that was 2 shots ahead of me because of the team competition, was actually 7 groups in front of me. So I didn't really know how I was doing. One of my most vivid memories, and I think probably to me the most funniest stories, was when I literally was putting on the 18th green before I had this putt. I was really curious as to how I was doing. I think as most competitors in any type of sport, you want to know how you're doing. So I was looking to get my coach's attention to try to understand if I needed to make the putt or not. I finally saw him in the crowd in the gallery. He was busy socializing, as he kind of always was. I couldn't even get his attention. So I 2-putted for par, and after the round, I came over to see him. And I told him I was a little frustrated, that I wanted to know how I was doing. He looked at me and smiled and said, "Hey, you won by 5 shots." So I guess I'm happy I didn't know I had a 5-shot lead, because that video could have gotten really, really ugly at this point. So summer school, graduation, a new job, and a wedding, and life moved on. So through the years, 41 of them, I regularly look at the NCAA champion trophy that I still have in my office. Behind my desk is the flag from the 18th green, and I still have a huge sense of pride about the 1981 spring semester. There are a few people that I do want to say thank you to. First, my teammates. We had a lot of fun. Some of the tournaments we might have had too much fun, but we had a lot of fun together, and I appreciate them. The second, our coach, Aubrey Apple. Aubrey Apple was a local golf pro. If any of you are Greensboro natives, remember the old Green Valley golf course that was right off Green Valley Road is no longer here. Aubrey was the local pro there. He was funny, he was very low-key, and he really helped me stay calm, especially that week in Pinehurst. Also wanted to thank the current golf coach, Terrence Stewart. I met Terrence face-to-face for the first time a couple of months ago, and he gave me a tour of the golf team's studio at Grand Over Resort. What a fabulous setup if you haven't been there. Has all the top teaching technologies available. I was a kid in a candy store and could have stayed in there for hours. However, what really blew me away was how much Terrence had integrated my national championship into the current golf program. To see an accomplishment from 41 years ago still relevant in Spartan athletics was just unbelievable to me. Finally, and most importantly, my life coach. It still does know how important the game of golf is in my life. My coach that has always been supportive and proud of what I did, no matter the result. My coach that spent hours and hours and hours and hours at the driving range, probably bored to tears. She was my fiance in May of 1981, and she's still my coach today after 41 years of marriage. My amazing wife, Cheryl. Cheryl and I are very blessed with 2 sons that we are so proud of, 2 wonderful daughter-in-laws, and 3 incredible grandchildren, and a 4th one on the way. I'm so thankful that my family could be here on this special day, as well as my brother and his wife, to spend the time with us. Thank you again for this incredible honor. I'm so proud to be a Spartan. Thank you.
With the decision by the university to elevate our intercollegiate athletics program to Division I in 1991, we needed to add sports. Baseball was a no-brainer. Given the fertile high school programs in the state, however, there were monumental obstacles. No practice or game facility, field space on campus, adding scholarships, minimal resources for salaries and overall budget, and the strength of collegiate baseball in North Carolina. Enter Mike Gaski. The new coach proceeded to engage the greater Greensboro area in pursuit of a practice field and a game field, and he had to build a coaching staff, analyze a Spartan sparse budget, and find the lifeblood of any program, prospective student athletes. He had a year to put it all together. Mike's induction is not about his credentials before UNCG, nor his current presence in the national and international scope of baseball. It's also not about his book, Magicians and Brothers, but I would suggest that his body of work before and after UNCG was and is most impressive. Today is about the indelible mark and immeasurable footprint Coach Mike Gaski left as an architect and founder of our baseball program. All credit is appropriately placed on his leadership by surrounding himself with 2 young, vigorous assistants, incredible stable of young and visionary student athletes, the development of a practice baseball facility at Grimsley High School, the negotiations with the city of Greensboro to secure Memorial Stadium, the marvelous stadium built on campus, and the competitive spirit that brought measurable successes and the sustainability and continued growth of the Spartan baseball program. Y'all pretty good baseball team for 4 years, was what I heard when Mike took the fledgling program to the Baton Rouge Regional in 1994. It was our first entry into the NCAA National Championship Tournament. In fact, the program was only 4 years old, but I didn't feel the need to correct the LSU fan. We were there with LSU, Southern California, Fresno State, Southeastern Louisiana, and Tulane. When the dust and the sweat had settled, UNCG baseball emerged as the 3rd best program in that bracket, having been beaten by USC twice, but eliminating Southeastern Louisiana and Tulane. The storyline was incredible considering our game and practice facilities were both off campus, neither in Mike's control for scheduling and forcing his Spartans to get into those venues onto their own. It was difficult, but it was the Spartan way. Coach never had the scholarship funding, the coaches' salaries, nor the budget to be truly fruitful. But we were nonetheless, because Mike Gaski was and is a creative genius. With his guidance and direction, we finally brought the program to a spectacular on-campus venue. His hands are all over the many wonderful features of our baseball stadium, indoor hitting facilities, and locker room clubhouse. Today we acknowledge 22 years of service to UNCG and the greater Greensboro baseball community. It's my absolute pleasure to present Mike Gaski into the UNCG Athletics Hall of Fame.
Thanks, Mel. Let me start by congratulating the other inductees. And I have no idea why Ryan Fox wasn't inducted a long time ago. National champion, for crying out loud. I'm trying to be his best friend because he plays down at Pinehurst, so I'm trying to play him. I want to thank Brian for getting this back together, this committee, and reestablishing the Hall of Fame. It is important. It's important to the families and the players and the coaches. And it's just a start, I think, of what you're trying to do. A couple of thoughts. It is humbling. A couple of the inductees have said that, no matter how you look at it. And I think Tracie captured it very well. It comes down to so much, it comes down to family support. I would like all the families, not the inductees, but the families to stand. The members of your family, please stand. Yelvertons, come on, stand up. Tracie, stand up. Oh, stand up. Stand up. The sacrifices, I think the players now, they're grown up, they have their own families. I think they start to recognize just how much their parents contributed to their success. At the time when you're 18, 19, 20, you take a lot of things for granted. Hopefully, those lessons have been learned, and I know you're grateful to how much your parents have done. In my case, Bobby and my 2 kids, they were always there for me. The people who win are the players, and we would not have had the players we had it not, when we started, it had not been for Neil and Jim Knight. I'm not going to list all the other coaches like Shu and other people who worked for us at different points, but Neil and Jim started this thing. If I did anything, it was in concert with them. And Jim and Neil, please stand up, just for a moment, please. Jim's father, Dave Knight, and Nelson were instrumental in hiring me. Dave passed away a number of years ago. We're hanging on to Nelson as long as we can. But it's important. It's important to recognize. It's important to recognize just how much some other people who aren't here have contributed to the success of the baseball program. We won because we had great players, really, really good players. I was going to name a few, but there's too many of them here. And that's a credit to Ryan and Nicky, their teammates over the years. They were good players, and they were really good people. If you look at their lives now and the success that they're having, the families that they have, the jobs that they have, you would understand that they understood that they did not become invested in athletics, that they not participate in athletics to be better than other people. They did it to be better for other people. And we had great guys. I worked with some great coaches, and that made my life a lot easier. Michael Parker, Lynn Agee, Terry Dale, Jack Poland, despite some of the disparaging remarks people wanted to make about Jack. It's easy to do that when Jack's not here. It's really good. And they were helpful. I mean, it's hard, you know, when you're coaching day after day. And someone's always in season. Someone's always winning a big game or losing a big game. And I think we were there for each other. And they did a lot to help me and mentor me as I came along. I know I'm supposed to stay under a certain time limit, and I thought that was laughable when they first said that. I didn't listen when I worked here. Why did they think I would listen? But I want to tell a story about Nicky and Ryan, and then I'll wrap up. Most people don't know that they were hurt most of their career. As I expect, well, Daren, he was probably hurt from the moment he showed up here in the wrestling, right? And they played hurt, battered and bruised from the very beginning. Now, they were speed players, and don't get this wrong. I know Rickard and some other guys believe this. I was not responsible for them being beat up and bruised, okay? This was the way they played. They were speed players and power players, doubles, triples, sliding headfirst into third base, diving in the outfield, running into fences. We didn't have a steal sign back then. Billy, you can do whatever you want, but we just had a green light. And once in a while we had a stop sign. Neil would put up a certain signal which meant don't run. And Ryan and Nicky wouldn't listen to that either. They would run anyways. And they got to their senior year and they were really beat up. There was no reason that they both shouldn't have played professionally. But they were limping and hanging in there. We couldn't take them out of the lineup. They wouldn't let us take them out of the lineup. Where does that come from? They would suggest, some people back here from Greenville would suggest it's in the water. And that's not the case. We know that. They made a decision somewhere, maybe in high school, maybe in their early years here, like some of the other athletes, to get up every day and do something to be better. Do one thing today to be a better player. Do one thing today to be a better athlete. Some cases, even a better student. Always a better person. And they did that day after day. Sometimes after a tough practice, because we would practice sometimes a little bit longer maybe than most people would expect. Or after a tough game. But they did it every day. So when it came time to play, couldn't stop them. That's why they're in the Hall of Fame. It was inspirational, and it should be inspirational to us today, for all of us to get out of bed, get our butt out of bed, and do something today to be a better person, a better worker, and maybe help somebody along the way. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I wanted to say I'm happy to be here, and I was very lucky to be Jenny Gleason's coach for 4 years. I could stand up here and talk about her accomplishments for a long time. She won 3 tournaments. She was a conference player of the, well, not of the year, she should have been several times, but for 4 years, and she was wonderful. Jenny is more than a gifted athlete, instructor, and coach. She is a great daughter, sister, aunt, friend, and mentor. Jenny is the whole package, which makes her such a terrific candidate for the UNCG Hall of Fame. I knew from the moment that I met Jenny that she was a special breed, and that was way before I knew what kind of golfer she would become. She was a good leader with an easy style. She was a great teammate. She liked to laugh, loves to play practical jokes, and is a fierce competitor, so don't let her small body frame fool you. She was proud to be a Spartan, and it showed in how she carried herself on and off the golf course. Her attitude and work ethic were what set her apart. Jenny knew she was good, and she knew where she could go, but she kept working harder to get better, just like Coach Gaski just said. When she wasn't playing to her expectations, she let that fuel her instead of deflate her. She practiced hard with her team, with her coaches, and countless hours by herself. During her 4 years, she was a consistent player with a good hold on her emotions, which really is almost elusive in golf, especially when you're a collegiate player. Her steady and positive attitude mixed with her quiet confidence were a huge advantage amongst any field, and that's where she really shined. Amazingly, Jenny picked up a club for the first time at age 15. That's not what people do nowadays. You're starting at 4 and 5. At 15, within 3 years, she made herself into a very competitive Division I golfer, and she made herself into a professional golfer in 7 years from picking up a club. She enjoyed 12 years of professional golf, 9 of which were on the biggest stage, the LPGA Tour. There isn't really enough time for me to tell you all that you need to know about Jenny's heart, her competitiveness, her love for people, but I'll finish with a small story. I don't want to say when Jenny came to UNCG from Florida that she was soft, weather-wise, but it's one thing with an outside sport. You're always talking about who played in the worst weather. It's kind of a badge of honor. Well, it was the spring of 2001. We were at ECU. It was easily the coldest day that I've ever coached. There were ice on the ponds. The ground was hard. So if you hit a ball thin, you felt it for about 2 holes. We were on a par 3, which is where the coaches usually congregated with their players, and Jenny was number 1, so she was the last one to come through. It was a par 3. It's about 145 yards or so, easily a 3-club wind. And Jenny came up to me, and it was more to protect myself, honestly, but when she came up, I decided that I was going to pull up an umbrella because the wind was straight at us. We actually crouched down by her golf bag, and Jenny, being Jenny, just laughed. She laughed and laughed, and I'll remember it like it was yesterday. She said, "Chief, why did I come to North Carolina?" And I said, didn't say it then, but I'm going to say it today. "Jenny, I don't know why you came to North Carolina, but I'm really, really glad you did." What an honor and pleasure it is to introduce Jenny Gleason into the UNCG Athletics Spartan Hall of Fame.
That story is true, by the way, I promise. And now I live in Columbus, Ohio, so I'm a little bit harder. You are. Yeah, a little tougher. First and foremost, thank you, UNCG. Driving around yesterday with my parents, it's been a while since we've been back. It's been 20 years this year since I graduated. So thank you, UNCG, for bringing me back and giving me a good reminder that I need to come back more, and I will. Congratulations to the other inductees today. I think I'd speak on behalf of all of us that this is it's a true honor Yeah, I very, the emotions get going, and it's hard to put into words when you go into something like this. Nelson Bob, my athletic director, while I was here, told him last night at the reception, I remember my mother and I sitting in his office on my recruiting trip, overlooking the soccer stadium and saying in my head, I think I could be a student athlete here, even having only played the game for 3 or 4 years at that point. And 100% I made the right decision. It takes a village. I know that's kind of a cliche term these days, but it's true, especially in golf. Golf is it's a wild game. So many things have to go right for you to play well. So many things with your body need to be working and feeling well. And I'll start with my village. My mom and dad are here with me today. And they taught me hard work, which led me to a great career in professional golf. So I wouldn't be here without them. All of the family and friends throughout the last 25 years, 30 years since I've been playing the game. The coaches, my teammates, people who I've coached under. Lisa Strom is here today. I coached under her. I just got out of college coaching recently. I was a Division I assistant coach for 5 years, and I'm going to go ahead and apologize because I coached 18 to 22-year-olds, so whatever stupid things I did, I understand now. But I loved it. I loved being around the kids, and I can see why you were such a great coach. When I got the phone call from Brian and the selection committee, I started thinking about my time in Greensboro. And Brian, just like you, right? I didn't have to go back 41 years, but I had to go back to 25 years and start thinking about things. And I thought about all of the firsts that happened for me in Greensboro. I'll start with, as a freshman, the fall of 1999 on campus, I got my first email address. I remember at admissions, the nice young lady working said, "Would you like an email address?" I mean, can anyone imagine living without one now, how the world has changed? I remember my parents, we packed up a rental minivan, we drove up to Greensboro and they dropped me off and we moved in to the dorm. And conveniently, I was located in the dorm by the golf course on campus, which happened to be just great for someone who is a golf nerd and a practice rat, a range rat, as they like to say in the game of golf. I remember them leaving me with a cell phone, my first cell phone, which was the Motorola, which looked like a brick. It was about this big, and you had to fold down the mouthpiece and pull the antenna up to make a phone call. This was going to be my long-distance phone call to call home. I remember using it, and I still laugh about this to this day. As soon as I would hang up with Mom and Dad, I would put the antenna down, shut it, and power it off, because God forbid if you left the cell phone on, the battery might die. I remember, and this is a sad moment that probably a lot of people in this room remember exactly where you were. I was in the computer lab in the HHP building. It was the fall of 2001, and I was AOL Instant Messaging my mother, if anyone remembers AOL Instant Messenger, and she said, "Oh my God, something terrible has happened in New York City." And it was September 11th, and kind of the world we know as of today has changed because of that incident. So I kind of experienced my first world tragedy. The winter, January of 2000, as a freshman coming from the state of Florida, saw snow for the first time. My college teammates who lived in the dorms across the street from me, who were all from up north. No one was from south of North Carolina. And they called me at 2 a.m., called the dorm phone, not the cell phone because it was off, of course, and said, "Come outside. It's snowing and you need to see it." So we all congregated outside. We did not go to school that week. I don't know if anyone, you might remember this. I think we had 12 to 14 inches of snow and the state shut down. We went to the cafeteria We stole the trays, and this is back when everything was cotton, so we ironed everything. And we all had spray starch. So we got the spray starch, we sprayed the bottom of these things, and we went down the hills around campus. I probably should be dead. I should probably not be standing here. It was wild. Once again, so I saw snow for the first time, and now it's a normal procedure in Columbus, Ohio. If anyone's in NCAA compliance, just cover your ears right now. There's a reason why I've never been late to another meeting in my life. My freshman year, I was a couple minutes late to a team meeting. And Chief pulled me aside and said, hey, tomorrow for workouts, everybody's gonna come a couple minutes early and everybody bring an extra change of clothes. That's weird, all right. Got there, she had in the athletic training room a metal, one of the rehab tubs filled up with water with ice all the way to the brim. She said, you're going to get in it. I'm pretty sure if a coach in this day and age did that, they wouldn't make it through the end of the day.
I'm sorry, Nelson.
So here I was. It was only for like 45 seconds or a minute, but it was enough to teach me a lesson, and to this day I am very punctual, so thank you, Chief.
You're never late.
Yeah. My last first, and it is with my honor that
I get to say this. This is the first Hall of Fame that I'm going into. And I couldn't be prouder to be a Spartan, to be a UNCG graduate. Brian, thank you for bringing this back. This is it's incredible, and it's a real honor, so thank you.
I promised it wouldn't take as long as Gaski. He wasn't lying when he said he ignored it when he was coaching here. So it's a huge honor for me to be here today to present to you one of the greatest athletes that I've ever had the pleasure of coaching, and a Spartan all-time great, Ashley Schnell. I'm going to start with a story instead of ending with one, just so you can get a little idea of what Ashley brought to the table as an athlete and what made her so great. So Ashley had a red shirt when she first got here because she had some medical things that we're sorting through. So when she's finally ready to run and we go to our first meet together, her first meet is a Spartan. Now, as a coach, I was a big stickler for, uniformity. Everybody's going to look the same. Everybody's going to do, these things as a team. And that day we were supposed to wear gold warm-up shirts, right? And so I see Ashley warming up, and I see her warm-up jacket's kind of uptight, but I can still see that there's a black shirt under there, not a gold one, right? So I'm a little bit annoyed, and I go up to Ashley. It's just a couple minutes before the race. I'm like, Ashley, what shirt do you have on there? And kind of a little bit bashfully, she unzips her jacket, and it's a black shirt with a giant white skull, right? And if any of you guys are like Marvel fans, you know the Punisher? It was a Punisher shirt. And so I said, Ashley, why are you wearing that Punisher shirt? And she looks me dead in the eye with this intense look that only Ashley has, and she goes, because I'm about to punish people. She didn't say people, but, so I'm like, okay, fine. What I didn't realize was that she didn't mean just that day in that race. She meant for the entirety of her UNCG career that she was going to punish people, and she did. Ashley stands as the greatest women's cross-country and track and field athlete in school history. She not only had amazing times and performances herself, but she led a renaissance of the women's cross-country and track program. Her arrival here and her meteoric rise in the SoCon and the NCAA was one of the keys in bringing the rest of the program to the top of the Southern Conference, the region, and onto the national scene. She truly elevated not only herself, but everybody around her, and helped lead the greatest period in women's history here. Ashley never lost a race at a SoCon championship, individual or relay. This resulted in 6 individual conference titles, 2 relay conference titles. She broke multiple school and SoCon records and remains the only UNCG woman to ever qualify for the NCAA cross-country championships. There, Fearlessly, she went out with the leaders. I didn't recommend that. But she hung in there. She finished just seconds away from All-American honors. She remains the only woman in school history to win a SoCon title, more than one, and to run an Olympic trials qualifying time, which she did in her only time running the 10,000 meters. She's a two-time NCAA track qualifier, one-time NCAA cross-country qualifier, and on top of that, she carried a 4.0 GPA in music performance, an amazing violinist, was an academic All-American, and received an NCAA postgraduate scholarship. At the time of her graduation, Ashley held 11 school records and 3 SoCon championship records. She's still #1 in school history in cross-country for both the 5K and 6K distance, indoor for the 800, the mile, the 3K, and the DMR, outdoor for the 800, the 3K, the 5K, and the 10K. She didn't just succeed because she was physically talented. She succeeded because she's the toughest person that I've ever coached. She refused to fail. She did everything necessary to be great. And when she toed the line, you always knew that she was confident and ready to go. She was the epitome of student athlete. I miss coaching her every day, but I'm thankful that I was a part of her journey. I was going to tell you her PRs at this point, but let's just suffice it to say she was really fast and everything. Instead, I'd like to say that great distance runners are not born, they are made. And it was a joy for me as a coach to watch Ashley, through sheer will and determination, make herself into the greatest distance athlete that this school has ever seen. It is my pleasure to present Ashley Schnell into the UNCG Athletics Hall of Fame.
Thank you. It is such an honor to be recognized here today with all of you and all of these amazing past and present Hall of Fame inductees. When I came to UNCG, I started out on a new adventure. I grew up in Lincoln, Nebraska, and so it was a lot different when I came all the way out to North Carolina. I was exploring myself, who I was, who I wanted to be, and this place was filled with new people, new experiences that I will always remember. There were ups and downs, successes and challenges, but those all made me who I am today. Being a part of that and what I accomplished during this time was really special to me. And I want to express how important it was to have the support of all of the following people. To my parents, I never could have done it without you guys. You're part of my journey from the very beginning. I started running around the age of 7 because I enjoyed it. They both actually ran track. And so I hope that they're really excited when I decided I really liked it and got into it. They took me to countless meets around the state, around the country, and thought up some really tough workouts that I will always remember. They were really tough, but they made me the athlete that I became, and I ended up loving them. When I had a difficult race or workout, they were always trying to make something positive out of it and motivate me for the future. To my coaches that work here, Ling, and my other coaches, they're there day in and day out. They're out planning all the little details and logistics, the things that we didn't really think about as athletes. And, you know, my favorite workout that Ling had was we would run at Guilford Courthouse, and we would do 5 or 6 hills, and then we'd have to run 2 miles. Then we have to go back and run 5 or 6 hills, and then do another 2 mile, and then 5 or 6 hills again. That one was the hardest and the toughest, but it was my very favorite because it challenged me, and I knew that I could do it. The coaches always pushed us further and harder and gave me and the rest of the team the tools that we needed to accomplish the goals and trust in our training and build our confidence. And what was really cool was that they supported me outside of athletics too. Whenever I would have a recital or a concert, they were there supporting me and coming to hear me perform, and that was really special. To my teammates, we all came together as a group and persevered towards a common goal. We had to work out bumps on the road as they came along, but we were able to support each other and then celebrate great achievements together, which was both the guys and the girls team. That my senior year, both teams won the Southern Conference titles as teams. And it was just so special that over just the 2 years that I had been competing with the team, that we had built that relationship and had these great goals that we could pursue and then achieve and celebrate together. I'd also like to thank the teachers and the professors that I had outside of sports. They supported me in the sports that I was doing, and then they supported me in music and building that love that I had for music my entire life as well. I'd also like to thank UNCG as like a whole. They're always striving for excellence, building programs to support athletes, not just in their sport, but in their education, and stressing the importance in both sides. And that was something that was really important to me. I'd also like to thank the Southern Conference and the NCAA for giving me a greater opportunity to continue my education in graduate school, which I did go to graduate school in music, and I still, to this day, play in a few symphonies where I live and teach lessons and can help bring that same thing that I love out to everybody else. I couldn't have done it without all of these people that are here today, and I couldn't have done it without all the people that I named. So it's such a great honor. Thank you very much.
Ronald Vincent, Marvin, we got Nicky, we got my brother, we got a lot of Spartans, Jay Kirkendall. I don't want to leave anybody out. It started in Greenville, home of the Gordon family, and their love for two brothers for the game of baseball. My brother Ryan Gordon and I would play with a baseball, tennis ball, racquetball, golf ball, wiffle ball. It didn't really matter much to us. You best believe that we competed on every play, though, regardless of the circumstances. He would tell you that I made him a better player. Truth be told, his fierce competitive nature brought out the best in me. As a Spartan here myself from 98 to 2000, one of my proudest moments was when my little bro came in after my senior year as a freshman and he chose number 2 as his own. He did do it justice. Just a few career highlights. He was the first UNCG baseball player to earn first team All-American honors. He was an all-conference team pitcher in 2000, and that same year he was voted by the coaches for freshman of the year. His .416 batting average in 2003 led the team, and in 96 hits in 2003, that is second all-time in UNCG baseball history. He's in the top 10 all-time in career records 9 times, and his career number of times that he's struck out is to his brother in the backyard in Greenville. I thought about that as I was coming up here, that no one struck out Ryan Gordon more than me. He was also a Southern Conference champion in 1998, and I'm just seeing if Neil and Gaski are paying attention. That was actually Neil, and I have the ring right here. He would have been disappointed if I hadn't shared that. Now I am so proud of what he's doing on the baseball field now. He's pouring his baseball knowledge into his sons. my 3 nephews, and into the youth in Texas as a coach. And now he's getting payback for everything, Gaski, Neil, Harvey, that he put y'all through. And now he's getting a taste of that. I do love you, brother. It is my pleasure to present Ryan Gordon into the UNCG Athletic Hall of Fame.
I'll try not to shed any tears, okay? But I can't promise anything there. Just looking out on the crowd and the room, I haven't seen my family in a while. I'm out in Texas, out in Austin, coaching baseball now. So, like my brother said, I got 3 youngins here, 3 boys. All of them are, you know, the same that we were. Fiercely competitive. You know, just to say thank you to UNCG and the Hall of Fame. Getting that letter in the mail definitely made my day. And, you know, it got me started to think about my time here. And, you know, like Coach Gaski said, you know, 18 to 22 years old, you don't know anything. You're out there just, you know, living day to day. And as I grew up, got older, I started to learn what I was being taught, what those lessons were. So, you know, as I got in my professional life and realized, you know, the light bulb goes on and you start to realize how big of an influence that everybody in this room had on somebody else's life. I still live, he had a lot of quotes. I always live by 5 minutes early is 10 minutes late. I've never been late for a meeting. I go to everything 15 minutes early. He also told me when I started here, one of our first meetings, to get 2 alarm clocks. He said, there's no excuses, like at all. You gotta have 2 alarm clocks. So I had a battery alarm clock. I don't think, we didn't even have cell phones then. I think those didn't come in until like junior year. My point being is you know, to look around the room and see my family, my coaches, my high school coaches here, just what impact that people had on your life, and getting to this point. The baseball was great, obviously, but the things that you think about are the relationships, and that's what, as an athlete, when you get, and I'm trying to teach my kids, it's how you make people feel, what you do to impact somebody's life. So I'm having my brother up here. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Sean. And we were in the same room, we shared the same room growing up. You know, he was my hero. And that's why I wanted him up here today. You know, a lot of times with brothers, you know, we fought all the time. We got along a lot, but he taught me everything I knew, and I strived to be better. That was my goal, to be better than him. So that's what drove me. So it's an honor to be here, to look out. Daren, we were friends while we played. That's, 20 years goes by in a blink of an eye. And, Keith, thank you for being here. Nelson, I mean, the names are endless. And that's what I mean by relationships. These are people that have impacted my life in such a positive way. Thank you to my parents that went to 1 million baseball games. My dad used to sit in the living room and break down every pitch and at bat. I used to get so annoyed by that, because it was always about the one at bat that, what you did, right? It was like, hey, you swung at this or you did that, and you realize like what they were also trying to teach you. So thank you for everything that you guys did. I have 3 of my own now, which is teaching me how much sacrifice that y'all made to get me to this point. And like I said, it's an absolute honor. My Coach Vincent, I appreciate everything that you did in my baseball career. And to all the coaches out there that put in the hours that you do, the selfless sacrifice. You know, thank you, and to my teammates. Jared Santos is here, one of the best that I ever played with. Thank you for coming, but it's an honor. This is something that, you know, they can't take away from you, right? So I'm absolutely proud to be in the Hall of Fame. Probably should have wrote a speech out, but I didn't. So hopefully it looks better after, you know, I think my wife's got it. Oh, last thing. This is it, I promise. This is it. I met my wife here. The first week I got to school, okay? Let's don't leave that out. So I met her, she played softball, she was a shortstop, and you know, it's been a wild ride. And we've been together since we were 18 years old. We got 3 beautiful boys. She's a much better shortstop than I am. So we kind of switch off. I teach all the hitting and she teaches the fielding. So I think my 13-year-old has finally realized how good she was when you have a mom that can throw the ball, you know, 300 feet and can hit. She used to throw me batting practice while I was playing college. So thank you, sweetie. You are my pride and joy, and I love you. So thank you, everybody, and have a good night.
The good thing is I'm last. So I told Nick, we're last. We can talk as long as we want. Keep you guys hostage. And I coached with Mike, and I just did what he told me to do, so I don't listen either. So the rules meant nothing to us. I'd like to congratulate first all the inductees, a number of which I had the pleasure of, privilege of seeing play. Congratulations to all of you guys. But I would be remiss if I didn't congratulate Gordo. I would call him the natural, probably the most natural baseball player I've ever seen. He could do it all. He'd tell you that too if you got him in a conversation, if he didn't jack with. And for Mike, I spent 14 years here with him, and I would guess everybody in this room that had anything to do with him or crossed paths with him knows exactly what he did for this university and the athletic department. Nelson mentioned this. He was the architect of that baseball program. He taught every one of us, Jim Knight, myself, and every player that ever came through here, attention to detail, process focus, and every one of us was better because of him. It seems like it was yesterday, but it was 30 years ago. I guess I am getting old. Jim Knight and I were trying to put together our recruiting class for 1993. And in the fall, that prior fall, we'd seen a real skinny kid from down east. And this kid played for Greenville Rose, which we've been mentioned already once before. One of the premier programs in the state of North Carolina, coached by a Hall of Fame high school coach himself. And we were trying to get in there to figure out if we could sign this kid. And RV thought, Ron thought this guy would be a great fit for our upstart program. And RV, I would have to tell you, you were right. So we signed him. He shows up in the fall of '93 and quickly started turning some heads. This guy could do things that a lot of guys couldn't do. He could really run. And I mean, he could really run. He could throw. He could track balls down in the outfield. Could swing a bat. The only thing we needed to do was figure out how to get him a little tougher. And we knew he was going to be special. He just needed to grow up some, just like every other freshman, all of you coaches. Gain some strength and get a little bit of mental toughness. So 6 a.m. runs, a real tough 1994 senior class, a lot of weight rooms. That fixed it for him. I mean, this kid went from somebody that would want to take a week off from fouling a ball off his foot as a freshman to a guy that by the time he was a senior, we'd go to Grimsley to do our runs at 6 a.m. in the morning, and he would volunteer to try to run a lap in less than a minute so he could send everybody home and not make them run. And he could do it. In the days that he didn't want to do it, all the other guys gave him such a hard time, they guilt him into doing it, and then he had to do it. If he didn't make it, we made the whole team run anyway, and he was already out of gas. But he was such a toolsy player, what we call toolsy guy. As a freshman, you saw the tools. As a senior, they became skills. He developed himself into a Hall of Fame type player. His senior year, probably one of the best seasons I've ever seen here. I coached, I think Roach asked me if I needed some statistical information. I said, look, man, I saw it live. I don't need the stats. Hit 374, led the team with home runs, hit 13 jacks, established 3 still standing single season records. 72 RBIs, 45 bases, 45 bags, 147 total bases. You're talking like really, really gaudy numbers. He had really, really turned the corner and turned himself, like I said, into a Hall of Fame baseball player. He is the only UNCG baseball player to play in 2 NCAA tournaments. He's part of the 1994 team that is in the Hall of Fame, and he's also part of that 97 team that also went back to Baton Rouge, to LSU. It is my pleasure to present Nicky Yelverton into the UNCG Athletics Hall of Fame.
Tough to follow up there. Coach Avon, thank you. That's the reason I wanted you to be my presenter. I think anybody would want to. A couple of things to say before I get started, kind of trivial. Ryan and I played together. Ryan and I didn't play together, but same Little League team, same high school team, same college. That's pretty unique there. So I echo all the congratulations and everything that's been put into this. What an honor to be standing here in front of family, friends, coaches, and teammates. Thank all you guys for coming. It means a lot. There's a lot that went into this selection, I'm sure. Thank you to the selection committee for choosing me to be inducted into the UNCG Athletic Hall of Fame. I can promise everyone sitting here that if anyone had taken a vote in '94, that I would be standing here in 2023 being inducted, we would have voted no. But there are a lot of reasons things happen and a lot of people to thank for this being possible. First things first, thank you to my parents and my late grandparents. Without them, I would not have been able to play the sport that I ended up truly having a passion for. Mom and my papa, my 2 biggest fans. They had a lot of watching Nicky play time during my baseball career, and were the ones that dropped me off in the fall of '93 on this campus. Dad, he dropped me off in the spring of '94 without my car because my grades were horrible. Glad you did, Dad. He gave me tough love. My papa, again, he was the one that bought me cleats, gloves, bags, batting gloves, bats, and never missed a game he could drive to. Some of my teammates loved him too, especially when they played well. He liked to give out 20s. My Bootsy, the Greenville folks know who Bootsy is. That was my grandmother. She forced me to get out of her station wagon in 1984 to go try out for Greenville Little League. Glad she did. A bunch of coaches to thank along the way. They gave me a chance. These are a few that stand out during my career. One of them is Grant Jarman, which is actually Marvin Jarman's brother. Thank you for coming, Marvin. He picked me in the 1984 Little League draft because I hit left-handed. Didn't touch a ball in BP. Glad he did. He gave me a chance. RV, Ronald Vincent. Thank you for coming. He allowed me to play on a few of his legendary baseball teams and threw the best BP anyone could ever ask for. Matter of fact, he still does. He threw to my son this past spring, and we'll probably throw to him again this spring. He also gave me a chance. Neil Avon. He saw me run to first during a tournament in Potomac Mills, Maryland, if I'm not mistaken, and began the recruiting process. Glad he did. Neil was my go-to guy and kept me grounded. Thank you. He gave me a chance. Mike Gaski. Hard to understand how he's not already inducted. Really is. But glad we were able to experience this induction together. Coach Gaski and I pushed each other. Some good, some bad. He knows what I'm talking about. I was a knucklehead, and he knew it. He 100% knew it. Most of the guys sitting down here that were seniors, when I was a freshman, they knew it. I wish I'd listened to him my freshman year the way I did my junior and senior years. Coach Gaski gave me a chance. Jim Knight. Glad you came. Probably my toughest coach physically, but looking back, he knew something I didn't at the time. And he gave me a chance. Gaski, Ave, Jimbo, Matteo, Tom, you wait. All had a huge part of me being here, and they believed in my abilities. They all gave me a chance. Now for my teammates. Most of my high school teammates and guys I looked up to during my youth baseball were bigger, stronger, and overshadowed me. I'm glad they did, because I wanted to be better than them. Tim Giles, my roommate and great friend to this day. I wanted to hit the ball farther than him, but I could not. He was a big part of me making it to early morning runs, class, and all of the team functions on time. Anthony Sylvester and Jason Langloy, roommates too. Thank you guys for coming. We're also a big part of me being here as well. The 1994 senior class. Rick, Joey D, Tom, Matteo, again. You guys were the ones that took me under your wings, and we look up to you. You guys paved the way for UNCG baseball. Chris Healy, thank you for coming. We battled for playing time, and I'm glad I was able to, because you truly helped me get better. The whole 97 team. If anyone needs a reminder, we were the best. 45-17. To the selection committee, I look forward to being inducted again with this team soon. One other plug. There's a guy sitting right over there, Joey DeAngelis. Look at the numbers. That's all I ask, selection committee. Obviously, the man above must be thanked. Got it. Somehow he looked over a lot of us for a long time, and without him, none of this would be possible. Congrats to all the inductees here today. Good luck to all the Spartan athletes, and thanks again to everyone that came to be a part of my honor and celebration. Thank you.